Hello everyone. So in this class, we discuss about the topic the mineral policy and taxation. The mineral policy is mainly a job of a government. What are the interests that a government have in mining industry? First of all, a government knows that the primary driver of the economy is things like mining and agriculture. So helping out mining means indirectly helping the national economy to grow. Second thing is that the government is interested to have some earning from the mining operation that is going under his jurisdiction. Third thing is that social impact related to mining. Government needs to make sure that this mining operation is ultimately helping the welfare of the society, and also policies are taken care to make sure its environmental and other social impacts are minimal. And another thing, government also needs to make sure that the proper utilization of mineral resources is being done. But unlike that, mining company is not doing any bad practice or leaving out minerals, precious mineral underneath the ground. That kind of practices a mining company is not doing. That also government needs to make sure. And because of such various objectives, government comes up with policies, and government implements those policies by means of legal enforcement or by providing economic incentives or offering schemes to the mining companies. So in this course, throughout we see that how actually government does do implement this policy for sake of overall public welfare. Now, mineral policy of a state is not a standalone document. For implementing a state's idea related to mining and mineral operations, it would need certain mechanisms. That mechanism is developed by several other policies and acts that government enforces. Like in case of India, we have industrial policy resolutions, forest policy, our state, our energy policies, and all these policies we would see that it is designed around to achieve certain goals. Let's say for forest policy, it is to ensure that our environment is protected and goal we are achieving is sustainable. And there are other policies like policies to protect our industry. We know that mining is dependent on its sale, and the price of the mineral mine sales is kind of fluctuating in nature. So it may so happen due to market fluidity, a mining corporation may lose its capital and all. So to protect mining industry, some certain kind of schemes or provisions government generally puts forward. That kind of thing also comes under the mineral policy. A mineral policy of a state can be of two kind. One is explicitly declared that this is our mineral policy, or it can also be a implicit. Why explicit policy? Why a declared explicit policy is important? Because implicit policies may change with the change of government in every 5 year terms. But a explicit policy means that is something promise of a government. So based on which investor may invest for a longer period of decade. This is why this explicit having an explicit mineral policy is also important for a state. We don't have much record about the mineral policies that past Indian governments have, the ancient Indian governments had followed. We only have Arthashastra that gives some picture about what was the thinking of ancient Indian economists on what should be the government policy of regarding mining and all. So in Arthashastra, we straight away see a trend that says that government should take control of the mines. Government had posts like director of foundry, that they have their typical Sanskrit names for it. So it had government officers to start mines and develop foundries and factories and all. So in from the Arthashastra, we know that for that contemporary economists believe that state government should have total control over the mine and mineral affairs. And next after them in British era, we have quite things were quite documented that how British thought about dealing with mineral things and all. There we see that British actually had given their authorities to local feudal lords. British were actually ruling the eastern part of India, and other parts were actually being ruled by princely states. The princely states had their own policy for mineral, And what British were doing, they were giving the authority to the feudal lords to manage all the affairs and just collect the tax and collect the mineral tax and give it to British. This was at all not a very good idea, and there were that Indian Coalfield Commission and other commissions that actually showed that that way how that minerals were badly exploited, and that it lacked proper security for the workers and all. Those kind of practices were absent the way the feudal lords dealt with mining operations there. So total private control was is not that good that we actually learned from the British way of dealing with mineral policy. And then after British era, just when our independence just started, we had several conferences like mineral policy conference, and from that point itself, that what should be the mineral policy of independent India, that thing start come under came under limelight. So soon after that, we had Indian Bureau of Mines to look after how the mineral exploitation is being done, and to come up with mechanisms and rules for the agencies related to mining industry, that how things are to be done. And soon after that, our constitution came to our constitution became the sole thing of the state, and state acquired the right of all the minerals. And in due process, we also came with industrial policy resolution that included also mining as a industry, and we in fact started formulating the pretext for our coming that mineral policy to come up with. In the due process, we also went through categorizing major mineral, minor minerals, and had our that Mineral Development and Regulation Act. And alongside, when our nation decided to go for liberalization of mining activities in 1991, at that point it was important to publicly declare a national mineral policy, so that investors can confidently invest, that throughout that their investment won't be taken away just after the change of the government. To give such kind of confidence, our national mineral policy was first declared in 1993. Thereafter, we had another mineral policy amendment, that was 2008. Their emphasis were given on conservation of minerals. Means that documents for this are given with the material. There we will know more about how these things went on. And in 2015, around 2015, another amendment to our Mineral Development MMDR Act came, where it included the District Mineral Fund. It was to come out of the resource curse. The resource curse we had discussed previously, that resource curse is basically a resource-rich area somehow lack innovative source of income, so that after when resources are over, that economically that place is not actually well developed because of that mineral operations that go over there. To come up with that resource curse, this district mineral fund concept was developed, that a portion of the mineral royalty will be spent back in the district itself for development. And finally, recently we had this mineral policy of 2019, which put emphasis on the private players coming in the mining business, as the government saw some stagnating things are coming around, and it had things like that allocating some of the blocks that were reserved for POCs only, but not being mined, giving those to private players, so that mining activities can get a boost in India. A document related to this is also given in your material. So we hope that we would go through those documents, and in our coming meet class, we will just discuss about them in more detail.